When I saw it happen, my heart just sank for him. Not just for him, for his parents, for everything that they've done to work hard to get to this one point, and it's like snatched from you. And I just felt terrible for him. So I just thought, you know what, I need to go and tell this kid, keep your head high, walk tall, you're going to come back. I think he's a phenomenal driver, I really do. I think there's more to come from Isaac than we probably have seen this weekend.
Lewis Hamilton's father, Anthony Hamilton, has broken his silence, and what he revealed has shocked the F1 world. This isn't just another interview, it's a father opening up about the sacrifices, the doubts, and the dream that helped build a 7-time world champion.
Hamilton! 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 Lewis Hamilton!
Because behind every Lewis Hamilton victory, every championship, and every record, there's a story most fans have never fully heard, the story of a father who worked himself to the bone, made enormous sacrifices, and never stopped believing in his son, even during the moments when Lewis began to doubt himself.
Yeah, my mum died when I was 16. I left home. I'm struggling to find a job, find somewhere to live, and then positive things start to happen, and then your life starts to change positively. Every time there's a positive change, you just maximize on it and believe on it.
And perhaps the biggest dream they shared was Ferrari. When Lewis Hamilton announced that he was leaving Mercedes for Ferrari, the F1 world was stunned. But according to Anthony, this wasn't simply a sudden career decision. Driving that iconic red Ferrari had been a dream Lewis and his father shared since Lewis was just a young karting driver. Years before Lewis became a global superstar, Anthony and his son would look at that red car and imagine what it would be like to see Lewis behind the wheel. At the time, it seemed almost impossible, a working-class kid from Stevenage dreaming of racing for Ferrari. But Anthony never stopped believing. He worked multiple jobs to support Lewis's racing career, made huge financial sacrifices, and guided his son through some of the toughest moments of his journey. He even managed Lewis's career in the early years before the two eventually ended their professional relationship in 2010 to protect their bond as father and son. Anthony also taught Lewis one simple lesson: don't answer your critics with words, let your performance on the track speak for you. And that may be the most important part of Lewis Hamilton's story. Because whatever Lewis is today, a 7-time world champion, one of Formula One's greatest drivers, and now a Ferrari driver, Anthony Hamilton played a huge role in helping him get there. Today, we're breaking down what Anthony has revealed about Lewis, their shared Ferrari dream, the sacrifices behind his son's success, and the moments when even Lewis himself began to doubt his abilities. Because once you understand Anthony Hamilton's story, you may never look at Lewis Hamilton's career the same way again. For Anthony, this wasn't just Lewis's dream. It was theirs, built together on a foundation of go-kart tracks, long drives home in the dark, and a shared belief that felt almost impossible at the time. That's what makes the Ferrari move so different from any other transfer in Lewis's career. This wasn't a business decision dressed up as destiny. For the Hamiltons, it genuinely was destiny, decades in the making, quietly carried by two people who never said it out loud until it actually happened. Fast forward to the 2024 British Grand Prix, and the emotion reached its absolute peak. Lewis hadn't won a race in nearly 3 years. For most drivers, that would be a rough patch. For a 7-time world champion, it was something closer to an identity crisis. Every race weekend brought the same questions from the media, the same doubts creeping in. Is this it? Is the best of Lewis Hamilton already behind him? When Lewis finally crossed the line at Silverstone, in front of his home crowd, something broke loose. He pulled over, climbed out of the car, and broke down in tears before collapsing straight into his father's arms on the podium. It wasn't just a win. It looked like relief. In the interviews that followed, Anthony gave fans a rare, honest look into what Lewis had actually been carrying behind closed doors. He admitted that even a 7-time world champion isn't immune to doubt, especially after the heartbreak of the controversial 2021 season finale in Abu Dhabi, a result that still lingers over Lewis's career. Anthony revealed that Lewis privately questioned whether he still had it in him, whether the wins would ever come back at all. But Anthony's answer never wavered. He said he never stopped believing in his son's talent, not for a single moment, even when Lewis himself did. He also pointed to something deeper than raw skill, the same relentless, blue-collar work ethic Lewis carried from their earliest days, back when belief was really all the two of them had to hold on to. Here's a chapter of the story that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. In the early days, Anthony wasn't just Lewis's dad, he was his manager. He negotiated contracts, handled sponsorships, dealt with team politics, and helped guide Lewis all the way to his very first World Championship in 2008. For years, the two of them were inseparable, both on the road and in every business meeting. But in 2010, Lewis made a decision that surprised a lot of people, including some inside his own camp. He ended the professional partnership with his own father. It wasn't a falling out. It was, by most accounts, a difficult but deliberate choice to protect something bigger than any contract. Anthony has admitted this stung at first. Letting go of that role wasn't easy, especially after everything he'd put into building Lewis's career from absolutely nothing. There was pride wrapped up in that job title, and giving it up meant stepping back from a world he'd helped create. But looking back, Anthony has been clear that it was the right call. Stepping away from contracts, tire strategy, and lap time arguments allowed the two of them to simply be father and son again. No negotiations, no business disagreements bleeding into family dinners. By most accounts, that shift ended up making their relationship stronger than it had ever been during their years as manager and client. Long before any of the trophies, the podiums, or the championships, there was a much harder story, one of pure sacrifice. To fund Lewis's karting career, Anthony worked up to 4 jobs at once. He took on shifts wherever he could find them, stacking work on top of work just to keep the karting dream alive. Loans were rejected, money was tight almost every single week. And yet, night after night, he kept going, driven by one simple motivation: giving his children a better life than the one he'd had growing up. There were nights he slept at the track just to save time and money on travel. There were years where the family had almost nothing spare, where every extra pound went straight back into karting fuel, tires, and entry fees instead of anything for himself. It's a side of the Hamilton story that rarely makes the highlight reels or the championship montages, but according to those close to the family, it's the foundation everything else was built on. Every trophy Lewis has lifted since traces back to those exhausted, overworked years when nobody outside their own household believed this dream had any chance of coming true. As a working-class black family entering one of the whitest, most elite sports in the world, the Hamiltons faced hostility that went far beyond ordinary competition on track. Anthony has spoken about the racism and resistance Lewis encountered even as a young karter, long before he ever reached Formula One, moments that could have discouraged a less determined kid entirely. Anthony's influence didn't stop with his own son. Over the years, he's become something of a quiet mentor figure in the wider paddock, known for stepping in to support other young drivers going through their own setbacks and heartbreaks. There are stories of him comforting a rookie driver after a devastating crash, offering the kind of steady, experienced perspective that only comes from decades spent inside the highs and lows of motorsport. 7 world championships, a Ferrari dream finally realized after decades of quietly hoping, a legacy that's still being written in real time. And behind all of it, one man who sacrificed everything: his time, his money, his own ambitions to make it possible. Whatever Lewis Hamilton becomes from here, whatever chapters are still left to write in Ferrari red, one thing is already certain: Anthony Hamilton helped build the champion he is today. One long shift, one hard sacrifice, and one unshakable belief at a time. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments, and stay tuned, because there's a lot more of this journey still to come.
And I suppose, well, what the Tifosi think of him?
Well, everybody's so excited, and it actually surprised all of us, even us from Sky Italy. I mean, people have been here since 5 a.m, waiting here, keeping their place, and it's just been a really good atmosphere, like a party.
Forza Ferrari!
You hiding or you coming out? I've been waiting for this day forever.
Vicky Piria has broken her silence on Lewis Hamilton, and what she's revealed has the F1 world talking. Because, according to Piria, there's a detail about Hamilton's Ferrari journey that most fans have completely missed. It's not always Lewis who needs the car. Sometimes the car needs Lewis. And this isn't just a theory, Piria saw it from the very beginning. During Hamilton's first Ferrari test at Fiorano, he didn't simply climb into the cockpit and complete routine installation laps. He immediately started experimenting, working through the car's electronic differential, adjusting brake balance, and searching for the exact setup that would allow him to extract more from the machine. That's what makes Hamilton different. His victories have never been simply about having the fastest car on the grid. They're about his ability to understand a car, adapt it to his driving style, find its limits, and make it work for him. And according to Piria, that instinct, that almost obsessive need to understand and control every detail of an F1 car, is precisely what makes Hamilton so dangerous when everything finally clicks into place. But there's another side to Hamilton's Ferrari story that Piria witnessed as well, a side that became impossible to ignore when the results didn't come as quickly as expected. So today, we're breaking down the full story, from that freezing, foggy morning at Fiorano, through the darkest days of his Ferrari slump, all the way to the redemption in Barcelona that silenced his critics. Let's get into it. From the beginning, let's rewind to January 22nd, 2025. Hamilton steps into Ferrari's Maranello headquarters for the first time, as their driver and fans had been camped outside since 5 am, just to catch a glimpse. That's the kind of moment this was. Two of the biggest names in Formula One history, finally under one roof. A few hours later, Hamilton was out at the Fiorano test track behind the wheel of a 2023 spec Ferrari, wearing his familiar number 44, with a brand new yellow helmet design carrying Ferrari's prancing horse. The conditions were brutal cold, damp, barely 4 degrees, but around 1,000 spectators still packed onto a nearby bridge to watch. And this is where Piria's read on Hamilton really stood out. Speaking from trackside, she made a point of saying he wasn't just going through the motions, he wasn't ticking off procedural installation laps like a driver easing himself in gently. He was actively experimenting, working the steering wheel settings, adjusting the E-diff, testing different brake balance configurations, hunting for the car's actual limits from lap 1. That detail matters more than it sounds. A rookie test can be about comfort. Hamilton's was about information, gathering data, building a picture of what this new machine could do, and figuring out how to bend it to his style. By the end of the session, he'd completed 30 laps, and afterward he described the feeling as one of the best of his career. Comparing it to the very first time he ever tested a Formula One car, decades earlier. Team principal Frederick Vasseur backed that up too, admitting the day carried real emotional weight for Hamilton, but stressing that the emotion had to stay contained to a single lap before the focus returned to business. There was a human side to that day as well. Hamilton spent time greeting the fans who'd braved the cold and fog since early morning, walking along the barriers, waving, putting a hand to his heart. His mother was there too, adding a personal touch to what was otherwise a hugely professional milestone for the team. And the picture he posted afterwards, standing in front of the historic Enzo Ferrari house wearing the number 44, went on to become one of the most liked posts in the history of Formula One, racking up more than 5 million likes within days. That alone tells you how far beyond the paddock this moment reached. It wasn't just Ferrari fans paying attention. It was the entire sport, watching a new chapter begin in real time. Now here's where the story gets harder, because the fairy tale start didn't translate into an instant fairy tale season. As 2025 wore on, Ferrari hit real performance trouble, and Hamilton found himself under intense scrutiny constantly compared to his new teammate, and facing a run of results that didn't match the hype of his arrival. This is the part of the story most outlets glossed over, but Piria didn't. Her read was refreshingly grounded. She's pointed out, in various interviews throughout the year, that